Okay, this is funky. They did say it was Retrowave, and sure enough, this is what I see when I load in. This is a funky startup. Ah, remix of the actual theme. Nice. Does it change different scenes, or is it just the driveway? Just cruising down the motorway. I just want to let it run for a while now. Nice. But we're not just gonna sit watching this all evening. We do have some racing to do. Okay, we have the new series after all of that preamble. And we get a DeLorean if we get the 160 points. Of course we do. Of course, they should have made it 88 points and then something else. I don't know. Cool. Into the summer. Summer season. There's the Countach they're talking about, and a Ferrari 512 Testarossa, fantastic. That just reminds me of the original Need for Speed. 92 Honda NSX for the weekly challenge. I think I might have one of those, but if not, I wonder whether or not we'll be able to win one. Above and Be Honda. Fantastic, gives you the NSX R92. Well, they may as well just jump straight into that with those so we can do the weekly challenge. And what better classic than a Lotus Esprit to kick us off? I don't know why I made the bonnet red, but I did. And we're being passed by everyone, of course. This is very low to the ground as well. Wonder if I might want to actually jump into the cockpit for this part. We got, what's that? That looks like a very recent Ferrari for what's meant to be retro supercars. You look familiar. And then we've got Diablo, of course. Not sure what you are. Oh, you're probably M1. Let's see what else we can find as we fight our way to the front. I do like how they've got some kind of neon on the barriers. Ooh, that did not go well. Okay. Gotta remember how to race. This is the problem with only playing this game like once a week. I really should do these a bit more staggered throughout the week, shouldn't I? That would require being organised. But we do definitely have the synth beats in the music selection now, so that's good. Nice. Oh, this thing doesn't corner well enough. Okay. Brake more. Break or break. Two different spellings, but the two likely outcomes. That's a bit better. Now, of course, it's a couple of Porsches at the front. Yeah, I did consider selecting. I do have a 911 GT2. I think that was a possibility. Just get the bad boys Porsche out. Somehow we managed to just slide around in front and blocked them from getting ahead. I'm surprised they didn't add like a scanline effect that you would have to turn off. I should be racing this in, I should be playing this in 4x3 as well. For the real retro experience of how I used to have to play games, I should also be playing this like windowed in a 800 by 600 window against a 1280 by 960 backdrop. That's how I used to have to play Unreal Tournament. Fun. It's interesting how the whole like retro scene has just gravitated around this period of the 80s, like the neon-rich 80s and 90s. For New Zealand, it kind of was more the early 90s that it was like that. We were about probably a good 5 years behind the rest of the world and everything back then, because it just took that long for cultural effects to bleed their way across. Because TV shows would get here a little bit later, the rights wouldn't be purchased until a few years after the fact. Even fashions and stuff would take a while. These days everything's just instant. And across the line. On to the next circuit race this time, instead of a sprint. And the keen-eyed of you may notice that I've swapped out the garish red bonnet for a garish gold bonnet instead. I figure if I'm going to feature match, then I'll feature match the wing and the wing mirrors rather than the tyres, because that was kind of a weird choice. I don't know why I chose that in the first place. But never mind. We also did some tuning. I'm wishing that I had tuned more for the wet, but that's fine. I could have dropped the tyre pressures a little bit, but I did fit some semi-slicks, and we have some custom springs, off-road springs rather than race springs, but I generally prefer the off-road setup, even for a lot of the road racing. So much of the time you're then called upon to use a car on a mixed surface that it kind of makes sense just to do off-road. But race diff, 8-speed racing gearbox, and upgraded clutch, all the trimmings in that regard. Very few engine upgrades though. I think the only thing I was able to upgrade and still keep it A rating was the valves, which is fine. Generally, especially on a circuit like this, and honestly for a lot of the races in this game, better handling is going to put you in much better stead than doubling down on power. You just need to be able to take advantage when the opportunity presents itself instead of crashing into a wall like that. Taking proper lines would help too, wouldn't it? We have one more lap after this, and we can always just lean on them through the corners. There you go. Thank you very much. Now we just gotta keep it together, keep it clean, do a nice lap to finish it off. Now we don't have anyone ahead of us to be able to kind of demonstrate where we're meant to be braking and what lines we're meant to be following, so we do have to pay a little bit of attention to the track and do it ourselves. That's fine. We can race too. It's going a little bit wide in some places, but just trying to cut across where we're meant to. Do have to turn in a little bit early for this because it is a rear-wheel drive. Make sure we keep some power on when we're going through the corners so we don't just skid. That's better. And hard for this one. Just a little bit of power and then pile it on for the exit, and cross the line for 3 for 3. 2 races down. And one good circuit begets another, it seems. Another few rounds. I haven't raced this track for a while. It's an interesting one. Fairly short, so we're going to have to get our act together pretty quickly. A lot of twistiness through here, which they don't seem to be able to cope very well with. And this is where our tuning setup should come to fruition. We've not tuned for acceleration per se though. I didn't actually mess with the gear ratios like I sometimes do. I figured there wasn't much point. I usually just seem to make things worse anyway. But we're certainly not getting to our top speed of 293 projected. Definitely want to bias the mid-range a lot more. Look at you, very modern looking race car for a supposedly retro supercar. Oh, we've managed to get to the front on the first lap, which is always a nice feeling. And then you just got to hold it together for the next couple. Probably braking too much for that first corner, but it's because I want to be able to get a good amount of acceleration out for the next. We seem to be holding it pretty well through these. Stretched out a bit of a lead, so must be doing something well enough. It's not like I'm just blocking them and holding the lead that way. We are actually stretching out a bit further, which is always nice. Don't get me wrong, I'm more than happy to just drive very defensively and take the win by just blocking them. But it is even more gratifying to stretch out bit of clean track between me and the second place. So it means that I must be doing something more along the lines of what I'm supposed to be doing for racing. Lovely reflections off the ground. If this was real life, I would be dazzled, but thankfully... This is why I prefer not to be in the cockpit view a lot of the time, because we get weird reflections off the interior surfaces. There was an option to turn that off in 4, but there doesn't seem to be one to turn it off in 5. And I don't think it even worked in 4 either. So yeah, realism's all well and good, but... Just to demonstrate what I mean, we go into the car here. Like, this lighting to race in is not great, to say the least. Even though I do prefer the feel of being in the car and the slightly higher point of view. But it also does come across as being rather dull, and you get the weird windscreen reflections. So, on balance, prefer the bonnet view just for viewability, essentially. And I don't know, I feel it looks nicer for everyone else. I could go third person as well, but I find trying to race in third person is very difficult for me. I just never pick the lines very well. And we get our NSX. And now that we have our Honda NSX, we actually already had one as I expected, but we've equipped one of them. Use these weight savings to win a street race. Okay. And sure enough, one of the seasonal championships is a street race series. And it's the right category for us to use our new NSX. So jumping on in, our duplicate was also not tuned, so I don't know whether or not I chose the old one or the new one, but they looked exactly the same. Maybe before the second race we might do a little bit of tuning, a little bit of tweaking. It's always nice just to get it a little bit off the stock, but at the same time it's like a 691 out of a 700, so we can't do much. Right, can we get through some of these corners? I have no idea what the cornering of this car is like. I literally just jumped into it. Not great, not terrible. I mean, kind of what you expect from a B-class. Excuse you. So this is why I don't feel bad when I get ahead by shunting the AI around, because they do it to me all the damn time. And yep, there we go. This is a street race. We do have traffic to contend with. Sometimes it doesn't seem to even be turned on. Ooh, that went a little wide. Sometimes, even though the defining point of a street race instead of just a road race is the traffic, sometimes it just doesn't seem to actually be enabled. And I suspect it's just for the faster cars, but being the B class, we can go around on the inside. Realistically, that would have done terrible damage to us, but thankfully we don't race with damage on, because it's not required. That would be really rough if, for the higher difficulties, they forced damage on, and like wear and tear and stuff. It wouldn't really matter, especially if you still have rewind turned on. Ultimately, a lot of that sort of thing just comes down to you'd force people to restart their races more often, which is just going to piss people off, so... This is an arcade-style game, not a racing sim per se. This is not Forza Motorsport, and even in that I don't know whether or not the damage is mandatory. We've managed to stretch out a bit of a lead despite just being a stock vehicle, so if we can hold it together on these last corners, not just drift into a bush. Braked a little bit too hard on this one, but we are well ahead, so I'd rather brake too hard and not mess it up than not brake hard enough and get overtaken by everyone. Because that's what usually happens. And first one down. And now, after completing the first street race, we've got 2 more in that championship still to do to finish off that, but we only needed to win a single street race in order to get our next weekly challenge progress, and add some upgrades and spend 20,000 credits on upgrades for the NSX, so perfect excuse to give it a bit of a tune. Now the problem is that it can be very difficult spending a lot of money on upgrades and not bumping it up to the next category, and you might want to leave this being the same category. Now the first thing I like to look at is, can I add a rear wing? Yes I can, and it drops the rating down to a 684, so that spends 5,000 credits and lowers the rating. Another 5,000 on a front splitter, and again all it does is lower the rating. Also just the rim style, you can spend a lot on custom rims, and it drops the weight, which helps with the handling. And then the other things to look at is just upgrade the transmission so we can actually do some tuning, change the diff because that costs money but generally doesn't affect your rating at all. The clutch does such a minor amount, but hey, that's almost 2.5 grand. Driveline, 2 grand, doesn't do much. Well, there we have it, 32,000 that we're going to be spending on it, and that'll take us from 691 to 699. And with 30,000 spent on upgrades, this feels quite nice to race again. Next thing is to earn 3 stars at speed zones. Alright, we'll shelve that for now because first we've got 2 more championship races to win. Alright, let's see what this can do now that we've tuned it a little bit. See if it makes a huge difference. Of course, everyone else will have also tuned their rides a little bit. And ours is largely focused on the acceleration side of things. We haven't actually done any tuning, we just did the upgrades. Unfortunately, I couldn't upgrade the brakes, that would have been nice. But the brakes weren't too bad. And the advantage is that if I do have to squeeze on the brakes a little bit harder than I would like, I do at least have a better transmission for coming out the other side. And meanwhile, everyone else is getting caught by NPCs again, and just otherwise jostling everyone for position. Let's see if we can, yeah, there we go, ha, push everyone else into the beetle. That's always rather satisfying. I mean, I would feel bad in terms of just causing a pile-up, but at the same time, if that's what the game is going to do, if they're going to have this as part of the game mode, I'm going to use it to my advantage. And that's bought us a huge amount of track real estate. We can kind of take it easy now. A little bit of glare from the lights, it looks like, by being on the inside of the vehicle, but it's not too bad, just a little bit of mist. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad against the bitrate. That's always the other problem, is that I'm fairly sure the encoding can't keep up with some of the fast changes of scene. The fact that it's mostly dark probably helps a little bit. I think the daytime you miss out on a lot of the fine detail. I don't actually have the graphics turned up too high just because I know that it's not going to make much difference. That's why the flare smoke looks particularly granulated, but it would anyway. It's the interesting thing when you start doing streaming or recording and you're going to be running things through transcoding, is you realize that, okay, playing a game on really high quality doesn't really matter that much anymore unless I'm just keeping it to myself. I've been finding that with Planet Crafter a lot, is the bitrate will tank when I go into certain areas. Just because there's so much variance that it's trying to convey. I probably need to turn the graphics actually down in the game. They don't give that many custom options, unfortunately. It's where it's good when a game dev is given plenty of options to be able to tweak things so you can focus on the stuff that's useful. Like, having a long draw distance is much preferred, and especially in an exploration game. I don't care if it looks great, I just want to be able to see a long distance. Bit of a moot point in this when you're racing at night. And last but not least, time for the highway climb, apparently. We are going to be starting here and then going up a mountain eventually, I think. So we're going to do bonnet view for this one. I've had enough of viewing the world through the dimness of a windscreen. Hopefully we can appreciate a little bit more of the twilight. And we've done a little bit more tuning to the car this time. We've actually tweaked things a bit because I took a look at the gear ratios, and the potential for the gear ratios is way off the charts in terms of what is possible based on the aerodynamics of the car, so there's not much point trying to do that much of a top speed. Whoop, and that's where having the braking upgrades would have been nice, but never mind. We do have the acceleration, so tuned for acceleration, managed to drop the 0 to 60 down a fair amount, and just have more kind of midline power, and really make the most of our top gears without trying to push out beyond about 230 k's an hour, because there's not much point. We're not going to get there anyway. Part of that's probably just because of upgrading the gearbox to have more gears than we need. Oh, that was terrible. I missed that was a right angle. It's fine. We'll still catch up. We're only 40% of the way through. We didn't end up upgrading the tyres to be like slicks or anything, so we don't just skid on the off-road sections. We'll still manage to pull our way ahead. I'm confident with the tuning of the car that we'll catch up to these guys anyway. And the other advantage of not having the gearing suited to be more on the top end is that we sustain our speed on the uphill sections better because the ratios aren't as low. Our highest is like a 0.84 or something, and then the next one is like a 0.97. Okay, a little bit wide on that one, but not nearly as bad as the last one was. So now we're going downhill, of course, which is going to suit different ratios better, but I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be able to really push out too much more than we can anyway. And most of the track has been short corners and twisties, so let's make sure we break plenty of time this time. Start accelerating halfway through the corner. That's much better. Missed the apex on that, but not too bad. Miss the traffic, more importantly. that's the real thing you've got to miss on these. If you miss the apex, so long as you also miss the VW Beetle coming towards you, then you should be good. Especially if they actually hit it. And final straight up the hill. And once again, we're actually accelerating pretty nicely up the hill, which I think that they're going to struggle with. And we race down into the city. There we go. Another one in the bag. Not bad, even if I say so myself. And we get a GTSR 1987. Good year. Right, and with that championship out of the way, we just have to do the 3 stars at speed zones. So we're going to make our way to our good friend La Silica. Unfortunately, this is the seasonal PR stunt speed zone, but it has a very specific car requirement. We have to have an 87 Pontiac Trans Am, which I'm not sure whether I do or not. We'll have to check that later. But we may as well do it in this car first, just to get 3 stars. So if we can get 2 stars one way and then 1 star the other, or we just have to do it 3 times, that's also fine. Yeah, incorrect car for seasonal objective, that's fine. So long as we can get 3 stars in this, then that'll fulfill our weekly challenge, and then we can swap to the Pontiac if we have it, and just do whatever challenge is required for that. It certainly won't be 3 stars, because that's going to be impossible. I think it's like 114 or something in that vehicle. It has to remain D-class too, so you're not even allowed to upgrade it. Type R complete, there we go. So that's the weekly challenge done. And we do indeed have an 87 Pontiac Trans Am. In fact, we have 2 of them, which is just as well, because one of them has actually been tuned up to a C-class, and this one has to remain D-class to do the challenge. So let's see if we can get through this speed zone. Get a little bit of a run-up, but it's not going to matter too much, because we do have to go through this corner, and this car is not really made for cornering. And I can't remember what we needed as an average. I feel it was only like 114, but maybe it was 144. Hopefully not, because that feels like it'll be practically impossible, so maybe 114. I guess we can tune it up so long as it does stay a D class. That's not enough? Or is this the wrong car still? No, 3Ks more. Alright. Almost. We just need a better run up. Also, maybe we go inside the car now. I was doing the outside view just because it felt like a better viewing experience than looking at a shiny red bonnet. But if we want to get the cornering right, I think we're just going to have to put up with this perspective. So I can actually feel what I'm doing a lot better. The problem is that because the camera behind the car doesn't follow the car precisely, like the car will twist within the view, I lose track of where the car is in relation to the track sometimes. Yeah, this is going to be hard to catch up though. We're doing some decent lines, but this is too slow again, I think. No, 135 was good enough apparently. Alright, seasonal challenge completed. Now we also have to use this vehicle for the 2 other seasonal PR stunts. And the first one is speed trap this time. We have to do like 162 k's an hour. So we're doing it the downhill direction because there's no way we're going to manage to get that going uphill. But we've got this nasty corner to start with, so we'll see. We might need to give it a little bit of a tweak just to get the upgrade, get the acceleration going. Can we get there? 160 something? Ah, needn't have worried. Turns out 170 even. Excellent. And we have the final PR stunt, which, you guessed it, nope, it's not the speed trap. It's to jump the car. We're going to, this may be a Trans Am, but we're going to pretend that we're a Firebird. And we have to fly at least 112 meters. So hopefully the weight distribution of this thing is alright and it doesn't start to just tip. Too many of the times a stock car might just completely nosedive. And there we go, 143. Plenty. And we're also halfway now to the season objective. We've got the 2021 Lamborghini Countach, they must have done a remake, and then halfway to getting the Testarossa. Now I feel with some of these daily challenges we can probably get a few of them all together. So we've got Retro Highway entrance, we've got ultimate air skills in a car with pop-up headlights, and we've got unlocking a car mastery on any Lamborghini. So I think we need to find ourselves a Lamborghini with pop-up headlights, jump it a few times, and go visit the Retro Highway. And we have a Lamborghini with pop-up headlights, the classic Diablo, with interesting gold paint job, which I assume I gave it, but I can't remember. So, ultimate air skills. Well, it just so happens we were right near a big jump. So, if in doubt, the easiest way to jump a car like this is to go on a ramp. So if we just do this 3 times, not quite sure why we have to do it 3 times, we could probably just jump it once and then just keep going and go over a couple of other topographical features, to be honest. I mean, that's got to be one of them, surely. Can we then get another one by just going over here? Maybe? Oh, in fact, we just did a wink at the sky complete. And we need to unlock any car mastery. Now, the problem is going to be that I've probably unlocked most of them already in this vehicle, so we might not have enough points, but let's find out. We're just kind of skipping a little bit here and there. Let's just stop stylishly in front of the crowd, shall we? Oh, now we want to just do a burnout, don't we? Ah, I just can't stop getting skills. There we go. Sure enough, our car mastery is completely filled. However, we have 25 points, and the last one does cost 25, so I guess we get an extra life. And there we have Lambo Master complete. Now I want to find the Retro Highway. Yeah, the Clover Junction. So I can't remember where the Clover Junction is, other than that it is somewhere along the highway. So, simplest thing is get on the highway and go for a drive. Which is kind of the fun thing to do sometimes. And hey, we'll rack up some more skill points. Oh, in fact, there's our treasure challenge, in fact, for passing cars on the motorway. I remember reading there was something about it's really fun to pass close to things on the highway or something? Oh well. Apparently it was just as easy as that. So we'll chase down the treasure chest. Okay, this looks like it's the retro highway. So how do we get on / off? Or are we just on it? Maybe we're just on it? Or did we have to start off it and then get on it? I don't know, once the speed zone thing goes away, it should show whether or not... There we go, into the sunset complete. We just had to drive through there. Now, let's find this treasure chest, shall we? First, the obvious places. Is it up the driveway? Surely. At the end of the road? Yep, right there. There we go. Called it. Only 100,000 credits. That's a bit cheap, to be honest. I thought it's like 250,000, I think, in the last season. Never mind. So with the treasure hunt out of the way, a photo challenge is to My Fair Lady. Fun, yes, very, very well done. 94 Nissan Fair Lady. Thankfully, by some stroke of luck or otherwise, we happen to have the Nissan Fair Lady something S something Z twin turbo. Hopefully this is the right one. It's the right year, at least. There we go. Fair Lady Z version S twin turbo, that's the one. Yes, lots of letters. So we still have 11 points to finish our season progress off and get the 512 TR. The Horizon Wave radio station I'm not going to be able to get while recording because I have it in stream mode for the sake of the music. So we're going to have to get that offline, I suspect. So if I'm one short, I'll find it anyway. Otherwise, 3 stars from Trailblazers and Rally Monster. That should be easy. And I'm sure you're thinking, oh, he's just going to go back to the city and do that Trailblazer where there's an accolade to do it twice within 30 seconds or something, and it's so easy. Yeah, that would be too easy. This is a Rally Monster. I feel it's only right that we take it off-road and we blast through here. So we've got to get to the finish line here with like 30 seconds remaining, I think. We hit that tree early on, so we're probably not going to make it. Never mind. Turns out, this thing's powerful enough to hit a tree and still get 3 stars. Perfect. Trail Monster complete in our Pocket Monster Hoonigan car. Perfect. Alright, with 10 points remaining for our season unlock. That's 2 Event Lab races of 3 points each, and the 4 Rivals races for 1 point each should give us the exact 10 that we need. So first we need to make our way through this Event Lab race. It's an off-road race, even though it's using road racing checkpoints. The only car that we had to use for this was a B-Class Audi. It doesn't have off-road tyres, but I'm fairly sure it at least has 4-wheel drive, so we're not doing too badly. So we'll hope for the best. Oh, tight, end here. Okay. Holding it together. Got a Subaru vying for first place. But yeah, I think the Quattro Heritage is... Okay, I should have completely flipped there. Let's rewind that. I didn't realize that there was an arbitrary jump just put in the middle of the road. So that's a bit weird. If I could drive around it, I would. In fact, I probably could. You could probably still just clip the flag enough that it thinks you're in bounds. But yes, the Quattro Heritage coming good on this, allowing us to stay ahead of the other folks. Just got to remember to get a bit of power on through some of these corners. We have someone coming up wanting to take our top spot. Didn't even recognize that type of car. Looked like some sort of Mini. Very strange. It's always hard to do these corners after, in the first lap, you're not coming into them with nearly as much speed on the first corners. But now this back straight here is where we gained a lot of ground last time, so we've just got to remember to brake when it comes up to the corner up here. We don't have any NPCs to lean on anymore. And then the tight corner here, toit like a toiga, That was far too wide, but we've got enough of a lead that thankfully it does not matter. Now, remember about the stupid jump. I'm going to try and cheese it. Yeah, see? We don't lose any ground by going over a stupid jump, and it still thinks we're in bounds because we happened to just hit the flag just enough to qualify. That was a terrible corner, but I don't care. I'm well enough ahead, and we're almost done this. I'm glad it's only 2 laps as well. Broke with the tradition of normally it's 3 laps. We get across the line slightly quicker. Oh, that looked like it was the end there, but it's actually there. That's confusing. And this one is the Event Lab Island race, so it's wholly original, which can go either way. It's certainly interesting. It required the retro supercar category again, so we're back in the Lotus, back against the same sorts of opponents, and we'll see how we go. Lots of buildings, lots of corners. Looks like we're crossing over ourselves. We've got 2 laps of this. Hopefully the AI doesn't get too confused. I mean, much as I do love an easy win. Oh, okay, it's this kind of thing where if someone goes too slow, they could actually crash. Now, the other thing I notice is a lack of checkpoints. Where are the checkpoints? I'm going to study this. Because if I can knock off a few minutes of this challenge and cheese it by just going straight through the same checkpoint again, I will. Okay, probably not. So here's a checkpoint here. Of course, because it is street racing checkpoints, they're not as obvious. It's the flares. Overbraked for that, but I don't like riding the curbs too much in this sort of car, because it just bounces all over the place. I think they're also kind of not really taking these corners greatly. Also, I still debate a Ferrari Challenge Stradale being considered a retro supercar. I mean, really? Really? I feel it's far too new to be considered retro. Okay, well I wasn't paying close enough attention to where the checkpoints were to know if I can make any drastic shortcuts. There's one up here anyway, so we're definitely going to have to go through this one. And hope that we can outdo our opponents. Because they took an interesting line through there that might have been what the creator intended, but it certainly wasn't what was technically required. So... and we're just doing what we absolutely need to do. That involves cutting corners where possible. Like this, for example. Rather than going around that big corner, we can just cut across the footpath. Why wouldn't we? There's no checkpoint there mandating that we stay on the road. Sorry, speedrunner coming through. And yeah, I should have paid even more attention because I'm not sure where the next checkpoint is. From the one that we just passed through before. I think I could probably just go straight to the finish line. No, not quite. Here it is. Hard to see amongst all the buildings. Like it does, the game does tell you in the distance, but with all the buildings in the way, a little bit obscured. Anyway, pulled out a solid lead and across the line. Another 3 points in the bag, and now we just need to do all of the rivals races. So just a reminder of how it works, every series we get 4 rivals races that are different from the usual rivals selection. You have specific cars that you use. They're actually a bit of a preview of the cars that you win as part of the series that you're going through, one from each season. And this one's the 21 Countach that we've actually already won. Interesting that they don't make it the 40-point one, they kind of alternate, I think. And you just need to post a clean lap, which is generally very easy. And you don't even need to win against your other rival, but we're against someone who took 5 minutes to do this lap. This lap does not take 5 minutes to do. But we're just going to concentrate a bit and learn how this car handles. It's not bad. I missed whether or not it was rear or four-wheel drive. Being a Countach should be rear-wheel drive, but modern Lamborghinis have generally been four-wheel drive, starting back when they did the Murcielago and Gallardo. So we'll see. It feels like it might be four-wheel drive, which is nice. Either way, this should be over and done pretty quick, and we've got 3 more to move on with. I really need to remember to start every series with doing these, instead of jumping straight in and gunning for the other cars, because once these are done for one season, they contribute points to all seasons. So yeah, good to get them out of the way early. And there we have it. On to the next one now. Lotus Esprit Turbo. Slightly different to what we have been using, maybe? At the very least, it's not a tuned up version, so we're back in the stock level of Lotus Esprit. But I think this is different to the one that I was racing, maybe? I didn't even see where this was one that I won. I suspect maybe it's in a later season, but I already have one? I'm not sure. Either way, we don't need to go particularly quickly because it took our rival 59 minutes to do this track, apparently. I don't know how. I'm constantly perplexed at how long it took some people to do these laps. Or these sprints, I guess in this case. It's not technically a lap. Yeah, you'd have to drive very, 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 very slowly to do this in 59 minutes. I appreciate some people might walk away from their computer, but how does it not just disconnect you from a session? You've got to remain connected. That means they're doing something. Oh well. All we have to do is post a clean lap, and that means not hitting any walls, not needing to do any rewinds, and just enjoying the drive, really, so I'm fine with that. Any excuse to just go for a nice night drive. Yeah, I think each season, or each series rather, each new series, the first things I really need to do is jump in and do the rivals. Check out the cars that we've got coming up in the next series, and maybe do a couple of daily challenges as a separate sort of video, and then we worry about getting stuck into the championships. Ultimately, I just need to get organised and do like 2 videos a week. By the time you see this, this might have even been cut into 2 videos. I want to get one out before the week finishes, funnily enough. But I should really do some recording earlier in the week and get another one out earlier, rather than leaving everything until Thursday. So I don't really like the video going out after the week's already finished, just in case someone finds it useful to demonstrate what car to use for a certain challenge, for example. But that means being a lot more organised. So, hey, there's always next week, right? 80% progress. 2 minutes 30. Well, we'd better finish off the other 14% of this race within 57 minutes. But we don't even need to beat our rival, we just need a clean lap. But I always like to beat the rival anyway. I'm just going to coast this last bit, to be honest, so that way... Actually, it doesn't matter. This doesn't count towards my normal rival's times. Either way, I'm still coasting it. And there we go. Now this is a funky looking vehicle. So 2 of the rivals laps are often EV laps. This is some new Honda, looks like, EV. That is just in a retro style, it seems. It's very cool. I like it. It's kind of like the Cyberpunk car, sort of. Now, target time is 13 minutes. Again, we don't need to beat it, we just need to go clean. I'm much more worried about doing that. Get plenty of acceleration out of the corners. Leaving it in the external view simply because this car looks cool. We almost ruined our clean lap with that one, but... So you just don't want to miss any flags. If you have to rewind it all, then that ruins your clean, just as going into a wall does. Only problem with electric vehicles is they just sound really... I don't know. Insipid. I really wish that they'd make them sound like a speeder bike or something. Laps completed in Rivals, 69. Nice. Right, last but not least, we have a Lotus. Lotus Evira, I think it was, from 2020. Oh, and the spoiler comes up as you race off and everything. That's cool. Looks like some sort of magical fish. It's like something out of a Zelda game. And it is fast. Damn. Okay, I'm actually gonna hop in the cockpit for this. Ooh, that's a cool cockpit too. Simply because I feel that I need the feeling of where I am in the car to make sure that I brake more in time and actually get around the corners, because we want to do a clean lap. We can hit the little markers on the side of the road like we did back there. Those are fine. We're just not allowed to hit the wall at all. Ooh, a little bit slippery through that corner. It feels like it wants to fly. Is this the windfish? It also feels a little bit skiddy. I don't know if it comes with racing tyres. I feel it should, but not quite getting enough grip here, and maybe the downforce needs a little bit more tuning. Also, we're probably just going too fast in a lot of these places. Again, we want to do a clean lap. Well, clean race, I guess. It's not a lap because it's point to point, but whatever. You get the idea. Okay, tight corner at the end there. Alright, and back outside again for the finish. So we can admire the sunset and the lines of the vehicle. There we go. Haloed by pink. And crucially with that, we get the 40 points we needed to unlock the Ferrari 512. And that'll do it for the summer season. I'm not going to worry about trying to cram in the multiplayer content right now. Maybe if I'd been more organised, I could have done it more in advance. For now, we're going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed the look at the new Retrowave content, because the Rivals events count 4 for every single season. We're 52 points rather than just the 40 points towards our first thing, which is that cool looking Envision 74. So I'm looking forward to owning that, because that was a nice one to drive around that Rivals track. Do we get the electric Lotus at all? No. Okay, I'm not sure why that one popped up when that's not one of the things that we can win. Never mind. Maybe it's a winnable from one of the other things. We'll see if we get that somewhere along the lines. Maybe they just ran out of other electric cars. Is the DeLorean not technically electric? It has a flux capacitor. Anyway, with that, I think it's time to finish up for this evening. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.